Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so here we are back again with another rank up video. So currently I do have 13 rank 4 6-star champions and we're gonna go ahead and take our 14th up. And I actually kind of pulled the class that I guess I wanted the most, because currently out of my 13 rank 4 champions, there is a slight imbalance disfavoring one class. So I do have 2 science champions at rank 4, Human Torch and Mr. Negative. I have 2 skill champions, one of them hardly counts, but still. Then I have 3 cosmic champions with Hercules, Silver Surfer, and Gore. Then we have Mystics with Rinter, Mephisto, and Dr. Doom. And finally we have 2 tech champions, but I only have 1 mutant champion. And as just so it happens, yesterday I pulled a mutant rank 3 to 4 gem. So now I have to decide which is going to be my second mutant rank 4 champion. It has to be mutant because it's a mutant gem. And I will explain my thought process, my possible candidates. Now the options in my head at the moment are, for instance, Omega Red. I think that's a very viable option for Battlegrounds, primarily also for Alliance War, but primarily for Battlegrounds. I have him at Sig 180. That would be quite a good offensive champion for sure. Then I'm also looking at Bishop, and Bishop definitely has increased in value tenfold, I think, thanks to Battlegrounds, but he's also definitely useful in Alliance War, defense, and attack. Then we have Archangel, Apocalypse, and Toad, realistically. So Toad is kind of a bit on a back burner. I do want to definitely take him up, but I'm not going to do it just yet. The champion, again, my requirements or my thought process behind ranking my champions primarily are always focusing about Alliance War and Battlegrounds. Because I don't need rank 4 champions to do Alliance quests. You know, I don't think it's required, and besides, if you have Herc, then Herc just blitzes through anyways. But, and I definitely don't need champions to do story content to be at rank 4. Because realistically, that rank 3 to 4 gap is not that big. It only really matters in player versus player game modes. It matters for Prestige, it matters in Alliance War, because if your attack is higher, health pool is smaller, you're less likely to die, and vice versa. If your defenders is tankier and hits harder, opponents are more likely to die to it. And the same principle applies in Battlegrounds. Because if your champion is rank 4, you will have the advantage of possible speed. If you take some chip damage, it's going to be less significant percentage-wise, so you will score higher. So it really does matter in Battlegrounds. Additionally, especially as we can see with these current metas, there are many champions that can be good for one meta and are really not going to be particularly great for another. For instance, Hitmonkey was great for Bulwark. Hitmonkey is great for dodge meta right now, but I don't really think that he's going to be particularly amazing, for instance, for flow, because he's going to be critting a ton, and so on and so forth. So I also want a champion that will work in majority of metas. Now, normally, ideally, I like to look at champions that are both useful offensively and defensively. So that would kind of pretty much favor Toad and favor Bishop in these rankings, because both of them can be very troublesome defenders and also good / useful attackers. But there are a couple of champions in Battlegrounds game mode that are just kind of head above others. And namely, for most people, they pretty much always have been, up until now, Human Torch and Archangel. And Archangel is exactly the champion that I'm going to be ranking up. And the reasoning, the argument before ranking up Archangel is pretty much the same one that I used with Human Torch. You see, I want opponent to ban these champions, so I don't have to. So I can focus on banning other champions that I find the most dangerous in the opponent's deck. I do think that Archangel and Human Torch are basically kind of like great equalizers for most part, where neither one of them requires particularly great skill to use, neither one of them is particularly dangerous to use, but both of them nuke down opponents very, very quickly to a point where even if you have a stronger defender and you have to face somebody that's, you know, not as tough, if opponent has Archangel, he can easily outspeed you, for instance. Same with Human Torch. And they always significantly just the fact that these champions are not banned like Human Torch and Archangel always affects even the way I draft. Like, if I know that Human Torch is going to be out there, there are quite a few Mystic champions that I'm going to be avoiding, or quite a few other champions that I'm going to be kind of like not drafting, just even in the case if Human Torch or Archangel appears. Just because they destroy these champions so fast. So the reason behind ranking up Archangel is quite simple. I want to encourage my opponents to ban them. And if my opponents do not ban these champions, then when the time comes, I'd be carrying the bigger stick, and in mirror matches, I would have the advantage. I'd be taking less chip damage, and if I go up against Archangel, Human Torch against Human Torch, I typically have the advantage. Now, obviously, with Archangel, there's still the RNG element involved, unlike with Human Torch, but the idea still applies. If we both have to take down Nick Fury, and if we both have Archangels, for instance, then rank 4 Archangel would much more likely win that matchup, opposed to a rank 3 Archangel. Obviously, there are situations where opponent gets an Archangel and I don't, if they haven't banned it, and so on and so forth, so it doesn't always work. But at the same time, I still find it worth doing this rank up for quite an important reason, that Archangel pretty much works in every meta. Like, next meta, we're going to have Mighty Charge Lane, but I'm quite sure you can even make Archangel work there, because he's definitely going to sneak under the Protect, and only thing you kind of have to do is corner the opponent, really, and you're going to be able to probably get those Neuros on. So, all that being in mind, for instance, yeah, I still plan to put Archangel in my deck in the next meta, and Archangel has worked in every single meta so far, and he's definitely going to work in flow meta as well, because he's going to be shutting down the flow node, and he relies on parries anyways, and he's just such a nuke option. So not only I'm taking a champion up to rank 4 that I think is worth ranking up because of how great he is, I'm also doing it because I genuinely see potential to benefit from this rank up in virtually every upcoming Battlegrounds meta. Similarly, also keeping Alliance Wars in mind, Archangel is a champion that is extremely good to have available at high difficulty for Alliance Wars. So you can nuke down champions, do it safer, and he will definitely also get offensive use in Alliance Wars. And then on top of it, obviously, Archangel being the Chad he is great for a ton of questing content, which is not as important, and a ton for a bunch of other stuff. So ultimately, I know that there are people who will say that Archangel rank 4 is kind of a waste, and there would be a time where I kind of would have agreed. I actually kind of myself had that argument when 5 stars were prevalent, where, you know, Archangel does everything I need him to do at rank 4. There's no need for rank 5. But that's false. There is always an incentive to have Archangel do what he does better and faster, especially in PvP fights. It's safer for Alliance War, because if you make a mistake, you have more health to fall back on. He's going to be finishing Alliance War fights faster in case time is an issue. And similar in Battlegrounds. Again, he's a champion that alters how people draft. He is and 100% will forever be a very good ban bait. And then on top of it all, whenever it will come to a showdown, having a higher ranked Archangel is much more likely to win some sort of mirror match or a matchup where they both are going at each other. So, Archangel it is. Now that I have ranked up Archangel and Human Torch, there are a few other champions that I definitely do want to take up. I want to take up staples like Ghost, and staples like, in my opinion, a staple like Tiger now. And then we can kind of go to different champions. I am about to be able to take another champion to rank 4. And the next rank up can be of any class, because I'm about 15,000 tier 6 basic fragments or 12,000 tier 6 basic fragments short from forming my third tier 6 basic. And that is going to be quite an interesting decision. At the moment, I'm kind of thinking possibly about Nick Fury, but there could be plenty of other options as well. So stay tuned for that one. But right now, we have a rank 4 6-star Archangel. It's actually kind of funny because I have not given my Archangel any of my signature stones. And he's all the way up to Sig 100, which I'm quite happy about. Another champion that I kind of forgot to mention earlier that I was strongly considering to take to rank 4 was Domino. The problem with ranking Domino right now is the fact that I would have to give her 186. Ultimately, if Domino was the one that is at Sig 100 or Sig 80, I would have ranked 4 Domino, because she's a beast in battlegrounds as well, and she would have value for Alliance for defense. But as it stands right now, I just don't want to give her 186 stones. So that was the final thing that I forgot to mention. But now we have Kitty Pryde and Archangel at a rank 4 level, which I'm very happy about. And yeah, we're strengthening kind of like the basics or the most important champions in all of the meta staple battleground champions, because there are about 10-15 champions that virtually in every meta are always extremely dangerous and worth having. And in case here we have Human Torch and we have Archangel as well as Kingpin, the champions that will be pretty much in every deck all the time. So I'm glad to have that at rank 4. Right, that is pretty much it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the rank up and the thought process I had behind it. And if you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the good buttons. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.
Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the